Welcome to the Pain Free for Good podcast, where we rediscover our body's natural ability to heal. This space is for those who have experienced chronic pain, illness, disease, or emotional trauma, and are ready to reclaim the power within themselves. Here, we explore healing, awareness, and the quiet wisdom already living inside of all of us. I'm your host, Heather Peterson, and I'm so glad you're here. Hello, and welcome back to the Pain Free for Good podcast. I'm so excited to have you join us on our second episode. Today is an important day, and I'm so glad to have you listening because I want to talk and walk you through the first step in my process that I go through with every single client. It is required to work with me to go through this process. I believe it is the most important step on your path to being pain-free because it helps me and the client understand the root cause. Most people that come to me have had chronic pain, they have disease, they have illnesses, they have emotional pain, and the doctors that they've seen tell them something's physically wrong with you. You need medication, you need surgery, you need this, you need that, and they never address the psychological aspect of what is actually going on with the patient. So, I'm just curious, when was the last time you went into the doctor's office and they asked you anything about your stress load, anything that had to do with psychology at all? Because here's the situation. Doctors are for the body and psychologists are for the mind. But when is the last time you have seen someone come together and use both? The mind, the body, the psychology, and the medical purpose of what is going on. There is a time and a space for doctors, and I'm not here to come down harsh. My own sister is a nurse practitioner, and I have great love and respect, and I love her approach. She has an amazing bedside manner. She loves her job, and my whole purpose is not to take away from what doctors do. There is a time and a purpose and a place for a doctor, especially when you're having acute pain, acute injury, something that comes on quickly. You break an arm, you get shot, things like that. That is a great place for a doctor to come in. These big medical surgeries that need to happen, but there's also the long-term pain, the long-term illness. This is what I want to address with you today is the long-term. Anything that is chronic is 6 weeks or longer. The body has an innate ability to heal itself. If you were to break your femur, which is the biggest bone in your body, it would heal on its own in 6 weeks. Did you know that the body completely regenerates itself every 11 months? Once a month, you have new skin. Every 6 weeks, you have a new liver, so on and so forth. This whole cellular makeup is constantly regenerating itself, and your bones completely regenerate themselves every 11 months. Did you know that? Therefore, why do we keep having pain? Why does pain continue? Why does illness and breakdown of the body continue? It's because it all begins in the mind. So, question today, why is your body not healing? Before we get into the bulk of the episode, I want to introduce you to something called the white coat theory. If you have ever visited the doctor's office, you know they come in, they're usually wearing the white coat. They sit down and you give them your full power. You're saying, okay, I am here for you to tell me what is wrong with me. And you believe pretty much everything they say, hook, line, and sinker. And there's no debating. And you know that if you go to the doctor, you're most likely going to be taken care of in some way. And we've completely turned over our power to these doctors. Now, the white coat theory is if you have some complete stranger come in off of the street, put on a white coat, and walk in having no medical background, you would not know the difference between the doctor you're seeing that day, if they're new to you, and someone off the street putting on that white coat. You just completely hand over your power without thinking twice. This is the way we've been conditioned in this Western world, is to trust Western medicine. So this can have a mysterious effect for good or for bad. And it's essentially the placebo and the nocebo at play. So if a doctor says what you have is incurable, you're going to be medicated for the rest of your life, and you believe it, you accept it, this has a negative effect on you. How many of us have seen loved ones go in, they say, you have cancer, and the patient accepts this, and they say, I have 6 months to live, and what do you know? 6 months comes along and they pass. But they've believed that the body is susceptible to time, to whatever illness they have. Now, the opposite is true with a placebo. A doctor can come in and he can say, oh, this is completely curable, and many people overcome this condition, and they give you the faith to understand that you will overcome it. I had the same experience with a doctor who prescribed me anxiety medication. I was severely underweight, going through divorce, and my mom and sister took me to see a doctor to see if I could start gaining some weight back, and he's put me on anxiety medication, and he said, you're only going to need this for 6 months. And I thought, wow, well, that's great. He said, yeah, when the spring rolls around, you're going to feel much better and you can stop taking the medication. That is a great doctor. That is someone who understands the power of the mind and the power of the seasons having an effect on us. Now, my husband, he went to so many doctors, so many specialists when he was dealing with his autoimmune disease, ankylosing spondylitis, and he had no success in overcoming his pain. He was put on biologics and in pain, and the biologics only worked for a short amount of time because that's what he read. And soon enough, that was his story. He also got a part of a Facebook group with people who were diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, and they were telling all about the conditions that they were having, and then you're going to have this, then you're going to have that, then you're going to have this, and your body's just going to break down. You're going to have to quit your job. People die from this. And he was terrified, and then he started having all these symptoms. That's the nocebo. Then he went to see Dr. Schechter, who was out of California, and Dr. Schechter said, no, this is a mind-body condition. You don't actually have ankylosing spondylitis. And what do you know? My husband was able to overcome his pain because a doctor gave him faith that this was not an autoimmune disease. This was of the mind. It's powerful. It is absolutely powerful to know what you're capable of. So the white coat theory has an extreme amount of power over our condition. I want you to think about turning to the internet. How many of us have some sort of a symptom and we turn to the internet? What does WebMD say? What does Google say? What does ChatGPT say about my condition? And we can go down a spiral and think we're going to die the next day because we are so persuaded to allow other thoughts and other opinions to enter our mind. So when they're negative, they add fear, they add anxiety, and the pain worsens. And if you were to add faith and trust, your pain is most likely to be overcomable. So if we stay in this medical model, it's just going to frustrate you and it's not going to heal you. So now, once you've seen all these specialists, you've spun your wheels and you find Heather Peterson with Pain Free for Good, you come and see me and I do what no one has probably thought of or done for you. No expert or health professional has explored what is going on in your life when the symptoms come on. And a lot of people, they just don't understand the importance of this process that I've come up with, and I consider it the most important. So today, I want you to consider what you've been taught. Reconsider what you've been taught. You cannot physically manipulate your body. My husband and I, we've tried. We have had multiple mattresses with his back pain. We have had magic metal wands on his back that I would wave around on him and hoping that would work. And I laughed. I said, how much did you pay for this? And he said, I don't even want to tell you. I'm just said, dear God, what are we doing? We are spinning our wheels. Every night I would apply the TENS unit to his back. He would take biologics weekly, injections into his body that were difficult to transport through the airport. Like, we were pretty much held hostage to his pain with our whole lifestyle. So I was also the same. I was on hundreds of dollars of supplements per day. I was doing spit tests for my cortisol once a month, spinning my wheels and not feeling better, being medicated. I was put on medication for hypothyroidism. I was doing all the hormone replacement therapy, and I never felt better. I felt more frustrated and I felt more not myself than anything. And so I came to a place where I said, this is not working. This path that we're going down is not working for us anymore. So point being, you cannot out supplement or out prescribe or keep buying all these things if you have a disordered nervous system. Your body will find a new place for the pain. That's called symptom imperative. So symptom imperative is, say you have shoulder pain, and then the shoulder pain starts going away, but then all of a sudden you have neck pain, and then the neck pain goes away, and then you have knee pain, and then you don't have knee pain, you have shin pain, foot pain, back pain. It keeps bouncing around. It's basically like whack-a-mole. You're trying to just get ahead of the next thing that comes up. And the reason this happens is because what you have going on is psychological. It's not physical. You don't have these things coming up out of nowhere. There is a purpose behind your pain, and that is what I want to talk about today. What this process looks like with my clients, every single one of them, is called the discovery process. It is a requirement for every person that I meet with. I will not meet with you unless we go through this discovery process because it is so important. So, what is the meaning of discover? Discover. You uncover what is actually going on within you. So imagine you're driving down the highway and you hit something and you see that you have a flat tire. So you pull over on the side of the road. You get out of the car, you assess, you analyze, what did I hit? Where is it? Which tire? How bad is it? And what do? Do you keep going on the road? Do you keep spinning your wheels and keep going, hoping you're going to make it home? Or do you get a new tire? Do you put your spare on? Do you put a patch on? What is it that you do with this tire? Eventually, it's going to have to be assessed. Is it a big gash? Do I have a nail? Is it a slow leak? What do you need to do to fix this tire? So this is how the mind-body process looks. We have to be honest. We have to be vulnerable. And this is a requirement that I do with every single one of my clients through the discovery process, through my whole coaching program. I have a confidentiality agreement because what happens between me and the client stays between me and the client. And I'm very prideful of that work because a lot of people who come to me say, I've never told anyone this before. And I hear it all the time because you have a hard time telling your spouse, this is hard for me. I can't tell you how bad the pain is because I don't want to seem less than or less of a mom, less of a dad, less of a worker. You can't be fully honest with how bad the pain is. So honesty and vulnerability is imperative in this discovery process because these belief systems are the root of our pain. The thoughts we think every day accumulate and they turn into beliefs, which turn into essentially pain if the beliefs are in a negative way. So let's walk through this discovery. I'm going to invite you, if you're at a place where you can, to take some notes. Let's see what we come up with for yourself in this short discovery. And I'm just going to give you a broad base. I'm not going to give you every single question I, of course, ask my clients. That would take far too long because my discovery process runs an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we don't have that kind of time today on the podcast. So we're going to give you the Cliff Notes version. So first question I ask my clients is, how much sleep do you get? Do you feel rested when you wake up? Do you have insomnia? The next question I ask is about movement. Do you move your body every day? What does that look like for you? Is it stretching? Is it yoga? Is it running? Is it CrossFit? Is it weightlifting? It doesn't matter what it is, but can you move the body? And to what extent? Do you enjoy it or do you loathe movement? Is it too hard? Does it make you emotional? Do you get excited? Does it make you happy? The next question is about nutrition. And a lot of this can be super emotional for women because they associate their worth according to food. So what is your relationship like with food? Is it, you have really good healthy eating habits? Do you enjoy eating healthy, or you just do it because you have to, or you're supposed to, or you're on some kind of an eating schedule? Or a lot of people I see, they're like, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. I've tried this, I tried that. This makes the pain worse. This makes my stomach worse. This makes my headaches worse. The next question we get into is with the family. What does your family unit look like when you were a child? What's your relationship like with your mom? Is it a peaceful, contented relationship? Is there resentment there? Is there frustration of how you were raised? Are your parents still together? What's your relationship like with your dad in the past, in the future, or in the present? Do you feel connected to them? Do you feel like that was a good relationship? Was there any trauma in there? And then it goes from there to your siblings. Do you have siblings? Where are you at in relationship to your siblings? Are you the oldest, the middle child, the youngest child? How's your relationship like with your siblings now and then? Is there any traumas? Is there any resentments? Do you feel connected? And then from there, I say, how was your childhood in general? So I ask you, how was your childhood in general? Was there anything that stands out? Was there anything that's hard? Or maybe that stirs up emotion within you, within your childhood? And then we get into the teenage years. What does that look like? Was it hard for you? Were you self-conscious? Did you have confidence issues? Were you bullied? There's a million questions that we could lean into between childhood and teenage years and what that looked like for us and how we felt. And then from there, if, they have a spouse or significant others that they had or experienced any relationship issues with, we'll get into that. And I'll ask a lot of questions surrounding those. And from there, I ask, what does adult life look like? What have you gone through? What are some of your jobs? Or have there been any stresses or pressures with work or career or financial issues regarding life? Is there an overload of responsibility on your shoulders? And then from there, we talk about, what are your stresses? If you have a lot of responsibility, what is the one stress that you would take away? And a lot of people, for them, their pain is the most stressful thing for them. So we talk about that. We get into what does this daily life with the pain look like? And then, do you have hobbies? What do you enjoy doing on a daily basis? A lot of people, they don't have hobbies. It's surprising. They don't do anything. They're basically just surviving day to day. And it's hard to hear that they don't have anything going for themselves. They basically live for their families, or they just survive with the pain. What does that look like for you? Do you have hobbies? And then a very fascinating question is, what makes you feel fulfilled? It would surprise you how many people cannot answer that question. They do not know what that feels like. They don't know what that looks like to feel fulfilled in life. And our sense of fulfillment is a big way that we lower the cortisol daily. That lessens the pain just by having something fulfilling in life, or an idea of fulfillment. And then I ask about, what does God look like? Do you have a belief in God? Does God seem non-existent to you? Do you believe in a higher power? Do you have religious trauma? What does this look like in the realm of religion or spirituality? What is your belief system around that? We have to get to the root of all of these questions. And these are just a very few of what I actually ask people, because 9,000 years of Chinese medicine shows that we store emotion in very distinct places within the body. Germanic medicine says the same thing. Eastern medicine says the same thing. But our Western culture has changed how we heal the body. So if we were to look at Eastern medicine, we are familiar with energy systems within the body, the meridians, the chakras. I'm a certified master intuitive craniosacral therapist. So I do a lot of this energetic work with people with their chakras and their chi. And we go through each of these chakras and we clear out the stuck energy. So here's just a little bit of a food for thought. I'm going to get more into cranial work as we go on through the podcast. But for today, I just want to do the Cliff Notes version. Now, the root chakra is the foundational chakra. It's the first chakra, and it resides at the base of the sacrum bone. And it extends through the legs, through the feet. Any emotions that get stuck in there have to do a lot with the family, the tribe that you were raised with. In the first 7 years of life, you become socialized into society and you become who you were told to be, essentially, as a kid. What does that look like? Do you like being the oldest child? Do you like being the youngest child? What is your relationship like with your parents? That all has to do with the chakra, and it all has to do with feeling safe and secure and not having resentment in that family unit. Now, a lot of these emotions that get stuck in there have physical components that come through in the legs, in the lower back, in the pelvic region. This is where all that stuck energy is in that first chakra. In the second chakra, we have the reproductive system. And so we might have female issues, we might have prostate problems, but it all has to do with feeling safe and secure in relationships. And a lot of it has to do with financial as well. What is your financial situation? And what does your intimate relationships look like? A lot of these traumas that we have get stuck in the second center, and therefore we have reproductive issues. Moving into the third chakra, this is the solar plexus. It resides in the stomach area above the navel. And that is where our personal power is. So we feel powerless. We feel controlled. We feel controlling. We feel a low sense of self-worth. But they come out as stomach issues. They come out as intestinal problems, IBS, things of that nature. They all reside within the third chakra. Now, the fourth chakra is the heart. This can be heartbreak. This can be loss, grief, betrayal. And think about what resides within the heart area. You know, you have heart attacks, you have lung problems, you have lung cancer. All of those emotions that get stuck in those centers have to do with grief. Moving on to the throat chakra, obviously self-explanatory, is a huge one for me. It was. I had hypothyroidism, and I had a huge disability in being able to speak my truth. I was very shut down to be able to vocalize, and it was a learned behavior for sure. And I took it into my first marriage, and it didn't serve me well. And so I really had to learn how to speak my truth. And lo and behold, I felt validated when I heard, oh, you have hypothyroidism because you don't speak your truth. And it was so validating to me to know that that was the cause and not just my body breaking down. Other things that could reside within the throat chakra are swollen glands, tonsil issues, esophageal problems, things of that nature. Now we move on to the third eye, which resides between the middle of your two eyes and your forehead. And that's all about perception. What is your perception of reality? Is it different from your husband, from your kids? Of course it's going to be, because you've had a different experience of life thus far. And so a lot of times we have to clear out our perception of reality and see our own worth, see others as they actually are, not how we want them to be. And the physical conditions that can come out of this is, you know, you have bad hearing loss, you can't see, you need glasses, you have tumors, you have brain issues, you have seizures, things of that nature, all about perception. And then you finally have the crown chakra, which is at the top of your head, and that's always your connection to God or your higher power. And it's feeling disconnected from God, disconnected from others, disconnected from yourself. And this could come out in a lot of ways, but overall, these chakras have specific emotions that come out as specific physical conditions. The next point I want to make is about ACEs. How many of you have heard about ACEs? ACEs are adverse childhood experiences, and the term was coined by Nadine Burke Harris, who was the Surgeon General of California, and she figured out, working with children, that if you have a high ACE score, which comprises of essentially 10 different emotional traumas, that you are more prone to disease, you're more prone to addiction, you're more prone to chronic pain, you have a shorter lifespan. So 67% of our population has at least one ACE. 12.6% of our population has 4 or more ACEs. So here are the ACEs. And I just want you to take inventory if you have any of these. And this can be from birth to 18 years old. Was there any physical abuse from birth to 18 years old? Emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical neglect, domestic violence, suicide or death in your family, parental mental illness, parental substance abuse, parental separation or divorce? Was there any crime or imprisoned family members? All of these have a huge correlation to you having chronic pain and disease and addiction as adults. But good news, this is all overcomable. If you had a nurturing parent or a nurturing grandparent or coach or some kind of a mentor that made you feel loved and connected and whole, then your ACE score was basically wiped clean. So it's very telling with people who have experienced a high ACE score. Next, we have these personality traits that Dr. John Sarno of the University of New York coined in his book, Healing Back Pain. He talks a lot about the personality traits of people who with chronic pain are hardworking, conscientious, perfectionistic, OCD, type A, peacemaker, peacekeeper, goodest behavior, meaning you want to be the good mom, the good wife, the good dad, the good worker. You want to always be perceived as good. And all of these people with these traits are more prone to pain. So, if you don't deal with your emotional problems, the pain will shift. And this is symptom imperative, right? We talked about this. The pain moves around because you haven't dealt with the emotion. These traumas, whether they're from childhood, teenage years, adult years, current status, they get buried in our subconscious mind and they later come out as pain in adults. And my question for you today is, what was going on when your pain started? There is always a direct correlation with your pain, with your disease, with your emotional trauma, with what was going on in your life at the time. Now, the first thing I learned when I was uncovering the mind-body connection was Dr. Sarno. And I read his book, Healing Back Pain, and he talks about TMS, tension myoneural syndrome. TMS is a lack of oxygen-rich blood supply to any of the extremities in the body. So this is what happens. You think a stressful thought. What does your body do when you think a stressful thought? You hold the breath. You hold the breath, you hold the breath, you hold the breath, and then it passes, right? But how often do you have these stressful moments where you hold your breath? And how many of you notice that you're even holding your breath? It's super fascinating to me when I hear people go, because you have to exhale. The body is not taking the big inhales, the big exhales like it naturally does. And so what this does when you hold the breath with the stress, it does not send all that oxygen to where it needs to go. And that is correlated with the chakras of the body. And then you have physical pain, disease, breakdown of the body because you are holding your breath and you are creating long-term a chemical breakdown because you have elevated cortisol levels. If we think stressful thoughts over and over and over, they become beliefs. I want you to think about this. Once upon a time, we all believed in Santa Claus, most of us, right? And we were sure we believed in him. We had all these thoughts about what Santa did and what Santa brought, and we were so excited for Santa. That was the thought, which made us believe in him, which equals our mental state. We were so excited for Christmas. It was the best holiday, right? For most of us anyway. And because we were so excited, we created adrenaline in our body. We created this emotional environment based on thinking that Santa was real, right? So we got something from this belief. Now I want you to think the opposite. I want you to think of losing your job. What are the thoughts associated with that? I'm a loser. I'm worthless. How am I going to provide for my family? I'm not capable. Those are all the thoughts you think. And then you believe I'm incapable. Then you believe I'm worthless, which equals your mental state. And your mental state becomes your chemical state. And your chemical state, when you believe these negative thoughts, is going to be cortisol, adrenaline. And long term, these are going to break down the body. And then you are going to have pain. You're going to have disease. So if our thoughts can make us sick, isn't it true our thoughts can also make us healthy? This is why the discovery process is so powerful, because we have to understand what in the world are we thinking on a day-to-day basis. If you were to set an alarm for 3 times in your day, morning, midday, and night, and just see what was I thinking when these alarms go off. It would be fascinating to see what you're thinking. Are you thinking more negatively, more positively? Are you at peace? Are you in turmoil? I can't tell you how many times I've had to stop during my day and stop the spiral of this negative thought that I'm going through. I'm creating a story about whatever it is I'm upset about, and I have to say, wow, look where I'm at right now. And so this is why the discovery process is so impactful, because we have to understand what is going on in the body. It is like having a TV on in the background with the scratchy static sound, and you don't even know it's on because you're so used to it. This is our subconscious mind. We have to become aware of the noise that is in our body, in our internal environment, so that we can fix it. If we're not aware, we will never overcome. So here's your homework, if you would like a piece of homework. I want you to think about, what is one piece of your history that might need a deeper look? And how might that history be affecting you today? And maybe it's current. Maybe there's something current in your internal and external world that needs a little look. See what's there. Uncover and discover what is going on. I hope today's episode found this helpful. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you share this with a friend and a family member who might be struggling with the same things, and pass the word along. I'm happy to have you here. Until next time, see you. Thank you for being here with me today. If something in this episode resonated with you, just know that awareness is where our power begins. If you feel called, share this episode with someone who may need it. And don't forget to subscribe so you can continue this journey with me. Until next time, keep listening inward. Your body, your intuition, and your truth already know the way.